Because I am my size, I get a lot of hate. But when you're thin and you suffer with those same exact things that I suffer with, you get support. There's a lot of people who hate me just because I'm fat, I will say that. How do you deal with people just, as you said, dogpiling on you for like no reason? And I don't know how I'm so graceful. It's giving fat phobia for sure, but you have to eat to survive. And I know there's a lot of fat phobic people out there who's like, you ain't gotta eat, look how fat you are. Like, stop with the fat phobia. I think sometimes it's easier to fight war with peace instead of destruction. I just don't think it's okay to lie.
Is it difficult logging into 100 different accounts to give yourself all the positive comments? I have never left myself a positive comment.
Love the video today. Your outfit was really cute and I love your journals. So basically, Amberlynn stole this picture and just cropped it out and put it on the Hannah Baxter page. I just think this is funny. Amberlynn doing a Q&A and then making 2 fake accounts to ask herself questions.
Here is the screenshot proving Amberlynn was asking for the information. I remember Damon White in the group. I remember seeing him pop up all the time. Like, he was in every single comment thread. It was just gross to me, the lengths that she went through.
Why was Beck allowed to rely on you after the breakup, but people are pissed that you relied on Destiny once a week for groceries after you two broke up? Yup.
I would be so quiet if I was constantly living on another person's dime, and then when I finally got lucky on YouTube and did nothing for work and supported other people that drove me around and did everything for me, I would be quiet about that.
But when it comes to the things that people are assuming due to the fat shaming, I don't need anyone. I take care of everything myself. I do not have a caretaker, and I have never had a caretaker, and I will never have a caretaker.
So that's where the whole wiping thing started, was when we were living with Eric and Ricky. And that didn't stop until the day we broke up. But even before then, I felt like a caretaker. I would do all of the housework, all of the cleaning. I would help her try to maintain her hair because it would get matted. And I would help her wash the back of her neck.
Are you not more embarrassed about destroying a marriage? I feel bad about the situation because when I found out that Erica was married, which was like, I want to say 8 months into us speaking,
Amberlynn was very much aware that I was in the picture. Let's get that really clear. She knew the whole time that I was in the picture.
We had a conversation. She's like, you never choose me. You don't want to be with me. You know, you always choose your wife. You could just be with me.
I get it, you're hurt. Move on from me, because it's giving obsessed.
She was Googling every address I was at just to know where I was at. Oh, what were you doing for the last 4 minutes? What were you doing the last 30 minutes? What were you doing? She messaged me from a fake phone number.
Like, when I found out that Amberlynn had my address and was sending stuff to my house and knew every coordinate that I was going to, like, it blew my mind.
why do you go after married couples? I don't. I have only ever talked to one person who has been married.
This is juicy. Was married, and I was like, well, why is this person talking to you if they're married? Like, you're just this other woman to this married person. Like, leave that alone.
Everything that I said about the relationship I was in as a teenager, I shared it to feel less alone, and I also shared it because there are people who contact me and say that they're in relationships like that and they don't know how to get out.
Don't talk so much. Speak when spoken to. Make food, pack lunch correctly. Don't make them repeat themselves. Give them massages every day. Don't spill things. Treat them like a queen. And at one point, I really did think it was normal to be hit.
Dakota, you're fucking sick, and you've been sick, and you've been a weirdo from the jump. I understand I had a mutual friend with Destiny. Libby was 16. I was 25. I'm fully aware.
She's 15. She's fixing to be 16. Like, her mannerisms and how she looks and stuff, like, is older, but... What's your code?
My code?
What's your code?
I'm not telling you.
Her mature level is pretty high. And I had no idea she was 15. Like, sometimes age does not matter, like...
Leave me alone.
Libby, you want to show them your bathing suit?
Oh, okay.
You have a cock in between your legs! Oh, lovies.
She was Destiny's friend, and she was a teenager, and they had an adult friend who had a crush on her. And I told Amber that I thought that was weird, and Amber was like, yeah, but he was a good guy.
So, should you read the words, like the questions, and then we'll...
What? We're busy. So you're talking about...
Huh?
How do lesbians have sex? There is which I'm sure you guys know what that is. There, you can
Because we all sleep in this one room now, so
yeah, Libby likes the couch, and we obviously like the girls. I mean, she can sleep in the bed with us, but
okay.
I have never and would never have a relation with a minor like that.
Had an online relationship with Julia. Amber was 19, a legal adult. Julia, 16, a child. I want to be the one you kiss, the one you call your girlfriend. She was a child.
Tell him what you think of Darlene.
She's there.
She said she'd be a towards Darlene.
And I was like, I'm not comfortable. And I was 15. Again, I was 15, 17. Why do you want this? Like, I'm not comfortable. I just kept saying I'm not comfortable with it.
Like, so many people online like think I'm just this awful person.
Well, hello. My name is Chris and welcome back to my channel. Today, we're diving into part 3 of 100 Reasons Why People Are Done with Amberlynn Reid. It's not because she's fat. Are you guys as exhausted as I am? Regardless, we must push on. Thank you once again for supporting this series and helping my teeny tiny channel grow, giving me hope for a less financially stressful future one day. These videos are strictly for entertainment purposes. Please remember that I am just a woman with a laptop, making observations based upon topics that public figures have shared. Therefore, all events are alleged. Do not send hate to anyone mentioned. Now, let's continue. Number 50. Sending Norma awful voice notes after her surgery. Let us begin this episode with something extra terrible, shall we? As we all know, Beck's mother battled cancer for quite a while, and throughout her treatment, both Amber and Beck claimed that the process affected Norma's mood as well as her mind, which created conflict between her and her loved ones at times, which is believable. However, that is certainly not an excuse for what Amber did. As Norma was recovering from surgery, Amber left her some less than supportive voice memos that were later leaked to the internet. I'm just going to play some portions rather than describe them so you can hear for yourself.
I'm tired of not being appreciated when I try to help you the best that I can, and it's just frustrating. This whole situation is super frustrating.
Talking to Becky's mom,
and I
right after she had her surgery. I'm going to put it out there how Amberlynn really treated Becky's mom. Don't let her fool everyone, please.
I am just tired of the added drama onto my YouTube, and I'm tired of not being appreciated when I try to help you the best that I can, and it's just frustrating.
So she wanted to speak on a situation that became about her when Norma had just got out of surgery.
You know, we don't have to really go down the line of, oh, you didn't message me, because I can say the same about you, where not once have you thanked me personally for the money I was going to give you. Not once did you say sorry for any of the things that you have brought to my channel that is in a negative light.
Yeah, that was hardly the time to do that, to say the very least. Imagine how confident Amber had to be to talk to her partner's mother like that during a devastating time, knowing that Beck would stay by her side. And honestly, shame on Beck for allowing it. However, we must take into account how tremendously medicated, manipulated, and mistreated Beck was at the time. Amber assuredly made plenty of money at that point and could have helped Norma out with her medical bills if she wanted to. This wasn't the last time Amber would promise someone in that family money and not give it to them. Number 51. Using a fake profile to spy on forums. Amber has repeatedly claimed over the years that she avoids reaction channels like the plague and never looks at the forums, when we all know damn well that is not the case. It seems as though every time a reaction channel brings up something specific, Amber's next video just so happens to nonchalantly bring that same topic up. Not only that, but from my observation, it looks like she will even begin using their terminology.
I have said time and time again, ad nauseum. We've also already covered that ad nauseum, Diva.
I have admitted to that ad nauseum. People are talking about ad nauseum. There is multiple reasons for this. I have talked about it ad nauseum. I have mentioned that ad nauseum.
Interesting. Beck has recently stated that throughout their relationship, Amber was neck deep in the Amberverse, doom scrolling the forums and watching every reaction video she would come across. Perhaps the most damning evidence we have is a profile under the name Damon White. Damon began popping up in the Amberverse forums and appeared more and more frequently, often defending Amber, which began raising suspicion. It was later revealed that this account was indeed being used by Amber, with incriminating receipts to prove it. To this day, she still acts as though she is not involved in the community for her mental health, but no one can believe her at this point. Number 52, refusing to be single. As we all know, Amber does not take the proper time to heal and work on herself in between relationships. It's as if all of her relationships have overlapped one another, and she always seems to have a back burner or two eagerly waiting in her Instagram DMs. The first breakup her YouTube audience witnessed was with Crystal, after Crystal dumped her. However, little did everyone know at the time that while Amber was recording her breakup announcement video, she already had Destiny lined up. After Destiny dumped her, Amber heavily pressured Beck into a relationship when Beck was not ready, claiming that she had a line of people ready and waiting to be with her if Beck didn't make moves quicker. After Beck dumped her, Amber guilt-tripped them into staying in the apartment with her, sleeping in the same bed, as she did with every other ex, and filming live streams because she didn't want to be alone. That is, until her new girlfriend, whom she had never met, immediately moved in. Then Amber kicked Beck to the curb, completely financially destitute. After Jade dumped her, she was immediately talking to multiple women online, Danielle, who was in a relationship, and Abby, who was very young, while living with and occasionally hooking up with Jade. Then, when those relationships failed, she committed to someone else she had been talking to, Erica. Then, after Erica cut things off, and after Amber attempted to manipulate and flirt with Alexis a bit, she then chose Emily, who she had also been talking to simultaneously with Erica at one point. Even now, there is heavy speculation that someone is coming to visit Amber, as she just bought an excessive amount of new bedding, but only time will tell. And fear not, we will cover the Casey-era backburners later. Number 53, picking suspicious questions for Q&As. Currently, Amber has a YouTube schedule that is quite saturated with sit-down Q&A based content. She would take questions publicly through multiple sources, including her community tab, while claiming that all of the questions she answered are completely randomized. Then, when the vast majority of top questions were calling her out or asking about her relationship with Emily, she mysteriously deleted her community tab altogether and never addressed it. On top of that, some of the questions she reads without sources are extremely suspicious, as they appear to be poorly thought out clapbacks that Amber orchestrated herself. But that is just mere speculation. Her supporters are far more concentrated on Instagram and TikTok, so it's understandable that she feels more comfortable gathering questions from those platforms. And if she doesn't feel comfortable answering a particular question, no one is forcing her to do so. However, she is straight up avoiding the questions that are by far the most popular in her community and continuing to deny it. Number 54, filming herself drinking and drunk. Amber is fixing to be 35 this year, and you would think that her getting drunk on live streams and acting a damn fool would have hopefully become a thing of the past. But alas, it has not. The majority of her live streams includes her drinking, and oddly acting drunk after just 2 White Claws or so, which leads into her saying things that she probably shouldn't be saying. We all know that Amber carrying a live stream by herself is challenging, hence her playing choosy on one of her more recent streams and boring the audience to tears. They are excruciatingly painful to get through as a viewer. But is her drinking really helping the matter? Absolutely not. She's mentioned that it's just her way of having some drinks with friends, but shit, she's gotten drunk in her vlogs plenty of times all alone in her apartment, and then choosing to post it for all to see. I think we can all agree that alcohol is the last thing Amber needs. Number 55, using religion only when it is convenient for her. So I never, ever want to delve into religious or political discussions on this channel whatsoever. But damn it, this one thing Amber does just irks me, and I needed to include it on this list. Amber has brought up many times that she is agnostic/atheist leaning, which she has every right to be, disclose, and discuss. However, in the past, she has made disrespectful comments about religion, and some viewers inevitably became upset. For the record, I believe in God, and her comments never bothered me, because whenever she gets preachy about anything with her audience, I understand how uninformed she is when doing so, and couldn't care less. Case in point, when she was talking about the Bible, she was also preaching about veganism, and we all know how long her vegan lifestyle lasted, but I'll tell you what has rubbed me the wrong way. And that is, as soon as she comes across a serious struggle in her life, she is immediately crying and begging her audience to pray for her. Which is fine, but then when everything is okay again, she goes right back to the smugness. That's not how it works, and I find her doing that so disrespectful and gross. I, for one, and you don't have to agree with me, do hope she can find some sort of spirituality in her lifetime, as it seems to have helped her mom quite a lot, and the way Amber chooses to live her life currently is just completely self-centered and meaningless. Yes, she practices tarot now, but in the most narcissistic manner possible, as some tarot readers are very much against the practice of doing your own readings. In my opinion, I think Amber simply buys the cards for the aesthetic of it all, but I digress. Lastly, this ripples into the situation I brought up in part 1, where she was trying to lure in Abby, who is very religious and in the closet, telling her God doesn't hate gays, which I agree with, but Amber doesn't believe in God, so this tells me that she was just using it as a manipulation tactic, and it's just gross. Number 56, displaying frequent wastefulness. We've already discussed Amber's overspending and hoarding of useless things, likely as an unsuccessful attempt to fill a void that can only be filled with true self-growth, which Amber refuses to work on. Her weekly Amazon hauls, her out with the old and with the new ventures that are far more frequent than they need to be, her massive Torrid hauls that cost hundreds of dollars, all for half of the pieces not to fit right. Side note, when I want to lose significant weight, I don't buy clothes, but I digress. I even did some math and added up her last haul in my latest video. If you haven't seen that, please give it a click if you're interested, although I'm warning you, it will likely piss you off. Here, I would just like to point out a handful of examples showcasing her wastefulness. She will pour salt all over her food, which, as a former binge eater, actually can be a helpful tool when used correctly, as it can help you understand that you are indeed in control of the situation. However, in my opinion, I don't think it's something that needs to be done regularly, and it sure as hell shouldn't be showcased to your audience in an economy where many of them likely can't afford food half the time, all to just order takeout again, defeating the purpose altogether. She will throw out food to start a new diet, which I would actually support if she stuck to said diet, but she immediately fills her kitchen with junk again after the fact. She will get triggered by a chicken nugget and throw her whole meal away in disgust, and will throw out perfectly fine items in her fridge. Amber claims to have issues with contamination, claiming that she gets anxiety regarding food safety and such, all while ordering takeout bags covered in grease that sat in a random delivery person's car. But of course, this irrational fear pertains to more than just food. Amber claims that she has had contamination anxiety with her cat's litter box, so she would just buy a new one every month. Or could it be that she was just too lazy to properly clean the litter box regularly? Because Beck told us that when they started dating Amber, that the litter box was practically overflowing and there was cat shit all over the spare bedroom. Amber's claims simply do not line up with her behavioral patterns. She recently claimed that she loves doing the dishes now because she can, but she uses paper plates and even plastic utensils at home on the regular. Which begs the question for me, if she didn't have all this disposable income to just replace everything when she feels like it, would she still have these said contamination issues? Number 57, holding money over the heads of others. We began part 1 with a dive into how Amber financially controlled Beck throughout their entire relationship. She also promised Beck's mother financial assistance when she was battling cancer, and then had the absolute gall to take the inheritance money she had left specifically for Beck. However, Beck was certainly not the only person Amber manipulated with money, As she began making money on YouTube, she would buy things for 15-year-old Libby and always make sure her audience knew it. Then, despite Destiny resisting Amber's trap of convincing her partners to quit their job so they can be home with her all day, Amber tried to buy Destiny's love and attention in other ways. When the relationship was hella rocky and nearing the end, Amber bought Destiny an ocean of gifts. This, however, could not save the relationship. After Destiny dumped her and immediately dated Dana, and Amber wanted to remain close friends because she was still very much in love with Destiny, she gave Destiny and Dana financial help for bills as well as the children they were taking care of at the time. When Amber wanted them to do something together, but Destiny and Dana didn't have the finances to do so, Amber would either offer to pay herself or lecture and guilt trip them regarding their spending habits. Then, when Amber and Destiny were no longer on friendly terms, Amber began claiming that she was being used for money the entire time, recalling instances where she paid for things and holding it over her head. Somehow, using the fact that she has made over $1 million on YouTube doing the bare minimum while being a shit person as a way to victimize herself once again. Number 58, the iPod Touch incident. Let's rewind to a seemingly simpler, but just as chaotic time, before Amber's channel even existed. Amber was living with Casey, but attempting to obtain an open relationship situation type deal with Crystal. Amber and Crystal would talk online constantly, and Crystal, who was being completely supported by her parents, was sending Amber gifts and money. According to Casey, one day when Crystal asked Amber over the phone how many gigabytes she wanted for the new iPod Touch she was planning on buying for her, Amber threw a total fit that Crystal would even dare ask such a question, and not just get her the most expensive one with the highest gigs. Casey witnessed this phone call and says that Amber pushed Crystal to the point of tears.
She was on the phone with her, and she was telling me how Crystal was gonna buy her an iPod Touch. And she got mad because Crystal asked, do you want this certain gigabyte or the 32 one, the highest one? She went off on this poor girl and made her cry because Crystal asked a simple question, do you want this X amount of gigs or the highest one? And Amber was so disrespectful about it. Crystal cried. Over $200 this girl is spending on Amber. That's not even with her yet. It's like, whoa, you should just be grateful.
Wow, what a soft, gentle love. Number 59, continuous rage bait. Despite Amber threatening to leave YouTube whenever she's in a pickle, she knows she needs to do whatever it takes to keep the YouTube paychecks flowing, as she is never going to find anything else that pays her this much for doing so little. And despite Amber relentlessly claiming that she is above the drama, the reaction channels, and constant criticism, she knows that this is all the very thing that funds her lifestyle, and if the views were to decline, that would put it into jeopardy. Therefore, Amber relies on constant clickbait and even rage bait titles and thumbnails. Whether they tease an update on her likely deceased cat or a relationship status update, they just will not cease. And during a slow week, she'll have a thumbnail of her crying despite her not crying in the video, or just shoveling junk food into her mouth and hoping that the feeders give it a click. You know what would get significant clicks and views without the toxicity she claims she can't handle? Her losing weight, her learning how to drive, her showcasing and taking proper care of her animals. But that's just too much work, I suppose. Number 60, the Wasabi Fund. I've been dreading this one. On July 2nd of 2015, Amber met Destiny for the first time, and the two moved into a Florida apartment with Destiny's friend/roommate. Destiny's 14-year-old cat, Gracie, accompanied them. Amber had mentioned wanting her own cat, but their apartment had a 2-pet limit, so Amber alluded that she would have to wait for Gracie to pass on. Just over 2 weeks later, on July 18th, the couple woke up and Gracie was gone. How? We don't know, as both Amber and Destiny have always blamed their roommate for this, but the roommate has never taken responsibility. However, what I am putting on this list is Amber's vile behavior and actions regarding this particular tragedy. Destiny was obviously upset, as she had had Gracie for well over a decade. She was making flyers and posting them all over town. Meanwhile, Amber was just sitting there, watching and filming her doing these things for her vlog, but not lifting a damn finger to help, often changing the subject entirely to the hideous red couch they had just gotten. She was being completely inconsiderate of her new partner's feelings and needs. And then, to make matters so much worse, on July 20th, just 2 days after Gracie disappeared, Amber showed her audience a jar of spare change labeled Wasabi Fund, explaining that she was saving up for her own cat, because she always wanted a cat of her own. Then, on July 22nd, just 4 days after Gracie's disappearance, Amber sold her DS and her iPod that Crystal had bought for her and was immediately bringing a new kitten home. Destiny named him Chaplin, but then Amber changed his name to Wasabi. Amber claimed years later that they got the cat for Destiny because she needed that cat. But if you look back at the actual footage, all Amber says is, "My kitten, my kitten, my kitten." My question is, what the hell would have happened if Gracie was found and they would have been over the apartment's 2-pet limit? Did Amber somehow know that Gracie was never coming home? Number 61. Bragging about being in love with 3 people at once. So, shortly after Jade dumped her, things inevitably became messy when the two decided to keep living together throughout the remaining months on the apartment lease. Amber went from claiming that the breakup was a mature mutual agreement to crying hysterically over her wanting Jade back more than anything in the world, and even still hooking up with her occasionally. Around this time, Amber was fishing through her Instagram DMs and talking to multiple women. The first one she fell in love with was Danielle, the one who is in a decade-long relationship. According to Alexis, she is the one that Amber really wanted, but her being in a long-term relationship was shockingly inconvenient. Then there was Abby, the younger girl in the closet who Amber manipulated. Perhaps Amber was just too impatient waiting for her to come out, so that ended. And then Erica entered the chat. All of these love interests heavily overlapped one another, and Amber was even bragging about it online. Call me crazy, but that tells me she wasn't actually in love with any of them. Number 62. Oversharing her sex life. For the sake of myself and everyone watching, I will try to make this one quick. I will say it again, in case you forgot. Amber is almost 35 years old. During her first YouTube chapter with Crystal, Amber overall refrained from discussing topics of a sexual nature. Then, as soon as she got with Destiny, it was a drastic contrast from that, as Amber was now basically shoving her sex life into her audience's faces. It was honestly revolting. Then, after being deprived of a sex life while with Beck, as soon as Jade came into the picture and was filling that void, Amber shoved it in both Beck's and the viewers' faces once again. Her trying to discreetly show off her hickeys is one of the cringiest things I have ever seen in my life. To this day, she continues to answer very sexual questions throughout various platforms that are likely just asked by trolls and could certainly be ignored, because so many things are just better left behind closed doors. Number 63. Tracking and harassing Erica. Like many of you, I'm honestly so sick of talking about this love triangle from hell. However, these things need to be addressed on this list. Despite Erica having a wife and living across the country, Amber was still as controlling of Erica's time as she was with her previous partners. We found out that Amber had Erica on a tracking app called Life360, and that she would even look up the places Erica appeared to be at. Then, when Erica was changing medications at one point and going through pretty rough withdrawal symptoms, Amber told her that she still deserved her time. Then, when Erica's close family member passed away and she was trying to mourn in peace, Amber still demanded her time then too, and tried to shift the conversation to their relationship instead. If Erica didn't respond to a text immediately, Amber had a fit. And if Erica simply wanted to spend her long drives to and from work to simply decompress, Amber didn't think that was fair to her. Once Amber's codependency, insecurity, and jealousy all came to a head, Erica awkwardly had to ask her wife Brittany to step in and help. And when Brittany told Erica to just cut Amber off completely, Amber then tried contacting Erica through different phone numbers. Did Erica deserve this? Probably. But does it also show what an awful person and partner Amber is? Absolutely. Sadly, it doesn't end here. Number 64. Unnecessarily going after Brittany. Just when I thought this case was closed, there was recently even more tea albeit a bit lukewarm, spilled regarding this love triangle. Despite her initially wanting Erica to reach out to Amber as a troll, and then later promising the Amberverse a tea-spilling livestream and giving absolutely nothing, Brittany still has every right to dislike Amber, because despite Amber claiming that she didn't know about Brittany, or didn't know that they were still together romantically, the woman was making homewrecker burrito jokes on the regular, so she knew what she was doing at one point and continued doing it. Brittany will make vague comments here and there on her social media, making it known that she is living her best life, and posted a photo of herself in a Mean Girl sweatshirt that Amber also has. Amber chose to fire back at this in a video, digging up text messages and making damn sure everyone knew that Erica was obsessed with her at one point. I get that Erica and Brittany's relationship was likely far from perfect before Amber, but if Amber hates the drama so much, why does she keep feeding it? As Brittany's comments, although unnecessary, were not threatening and not even worth a response. Erica then clapped back at Amber with some tea of her own, and the unsolved mystery of who leaked Amber's private videos also lingers. Obviously, whoever did that is very much in the wrong, but we still can't be completely certain. I definitely believe that Erica lied to Amber, but I simultaneously believe that once Amber knew about Brittany, she got a pretty sick kick out of being the other woman. Number 65. Couldn't find her sympathy bone. I will preface this one by saying once again, it is perfectly fair for Amber to dislike reaction channels. However, in 2022, when Amber decided to conduct a Halloween livestream, she simply crossed the line. Amberlynn Reid Reactor, the Narc Alert, had just had a heart attack, and when asked about it, this was Amber's response.
The Narc Alert had a heart attack. Have some sympathy. Sorry, I'm trying to find my sympathy bone. My sympathy. I'm sorry. I don't care! I want you guys to go look at the shit that she talked about my lung. I want you to go look. I want you to go look.
She then attempted to backpedal a bit and apologize after the fact, but I think only because Jade was disgusted and upset by it. But I don't buy it, as Amber now has a history of not giving a fuck when someone has a heart attack.
Your pappy had a heart attack today.
Number 66. Lying about bed bugs. One of many incidents recently revealed in Beck's YouTube streak is the bed bug incident. Apparently, while Amber was briefly living in her townhouse alone, after Destiny dumped her and was staying with Dana as much as she could, Amber had gotten bed bugs. Now, I am certainly not shaming Amber or anyone else who has bed bugs, but I am criticizing what she did next. Beck told us that Amber had let it get really bad, to the point where Beck would wake up covered in bites after spending the night, all while Amber just pretended not to notice. Beck then attempted to help Amber get rid of them by quarantining her clothing and such. I suppose Amber couldn't do any of that on her own. Amber then decided she wanted to move in with Beck and their two roommates, Eric and Ricky, and then asked Beck to lie to them regarding the bedbug situation, knowingly, potentially bringing them into someone else's home and infesting the place. Eventually, Beck told their roommates the truth, and Eric and Amber had a huge fight. I would have been pissed too, as bedbugs can easily transfer. But that's just what Amber does. She always ensures that herself and her needs are put above all else, and she will certainly lie to keep things that way. Number 67. Displaying the same behaviors as Dakota. Although this list is about Amber's behavior and wrongdoings, we still need to talk about Dakota. Beck's now ex-fiance, who the audience recently discovered has a very problematic past, which includes talking to teenagers in a flirtatious manner on social media when she was an adult. Dakota's online footprint contains cuddle applications from very young teens and CP jokes and references that have made our stomachs churn. Although I was once rooting for this couple when Beck first announced their engagement, I am now relieved that they are allegedly separated. Now, Amber recently addressed this in a live stream, seemingly giddy that the heat was now under someone else instead of her, claiming that she somehow knows that Dakota and Beck are still together, and saying that Dakota is sick and a weirdo. The latter is indeed correct, but I am about to point out why Amber is throwing that stone from a glass house. How can she sit there so smugly on her high horse when she has done numerous things that put her in the very same category as Dakota? Amber filmed 15-year-old Libby in the shower and in a towel, asked her to show her audience her bathing suit, deliberately made out with Destiny in front of her, made sexual jokes, telling Libby that she could sleep in the bed with them, thought that her and 20-year-old Nick were cute together, talked about sex in front of her, said she was mature for her age. The list goes on. Amber has also shown interest in dating younger people multiple times. Although not always illegal, Casey was still in high school when he was with Amber. Destiny was barely legal when they got together. And during the Casey era, 19-year-old Amber was allegedly trying to date a 16-year-old, which we will get into later. And lastly, more recently, Amber was caught following a horrendous PDF account on Instagram, then quietly deleted the Libby videos right after. Over 1 million views worth of content gone. Suspiciously, just as the ankle was approaching vlogs from around that time for his retro reacts. I won't make Amber following that account its own listing because we simply cannot prove whether it was an accidental follow or not, but I still need to mention it here. Point being, while Dakota was being a sicko online, Amber was being a sicko in person. I'm not trying to compare the two as they are both disgusting, but I'm just pointing out how, once again, Amber is the pot calling the kettle black. And these next couple of listings will also show you why that is. Number 68, defending creepy Nick. So, in case you forgot, when Amber started dating Destiny, Amber was 25, Destiny was 19, and Destiny's friend/roommate's little sister, Libby, was 15. Libby's sister seemed often absent in the vlogs, so Libby spent most of her time with Amber and Destiny. To be fair, Destiny was also an adult and shared responsibility, but Amber was by far the oldest. One night while out to eat, a 20-year-old man named Nick randomly asked to sit with them. Nick was a musician, and Amber immediately fell in love with his music.
And we buried you in the garden, and now you're laying next to Grandma.
That needs to go on Spotify.
Yeah, I know. It's going on the next album.
They immediately became friends, and throughout the vlogs, the viewers grew more concerned. There were sexual jokes and conversations. Amber was commenting as though Nick and Libby were love interests. Nick was putting his arm behind Libby in the car and forcing her to play a stupid hand-slapping game that she did not feel comfortable playing. At one point, Amber commented that Nick and Libby would hang out without Amber or Destiny present. Amber then defended Nick when questions and speculation arose, saying that he just turned 20 and Libby was almost 16, and that nothing was going on between them. Recently, Beck said that Amber had mentioned to them that Nick did indeed have a crush on Libby, and when Beck mentioned that it was inappropriate, Amber just said that Nick was a good guy. No matter how you try to explain it to people, no matter how mature someone is, it was simply wrong. Number 69, crushing on underage celebrities. Beck has recently disclosed that Amber had a very inappropriate crush on Billie Eilish during their relationship. You may be thinking, it's just a hypothetical celebrity crush, big deal. Well, according to Beck, they, along with Eric and Ricky, told Amber that it was weird. Then Amber told them that she was almost an adult and looked and acted older, so it was okay. This was apparently around the time Billie Eilish was just starting to make it big. She was 14 at the start of her career. Amber was in her late 20s when she got with Beck. This reminds me of an old clip from Amber's vlogs where Amber and Destiny were watching Roseanne, and Destiny told the audience that Amber would be a PDF file towards Darlene. Just because Amber sees herself as a teenager doesn't make her one, and doesn't excuse behavior like this. Number 70, cheating on Casey with multiple women. Although Amber claims she hasn't cheated since before the Casey era, because the whole Crystal thing was an open relationship situation type deal, I, for one, beg to differ. Before Amber and Casey met in person, Amber had hooked up with another girl in a hot tub. Then, after moving in with Casey, Amber was talking to a girl named Julia. I don't know how Amber does it. I suppose by victimizing herself to naive, kind people. But these women that Amber would talk to online would all send her gifts and money. Then came Crystal, who did the same thing, even paying for Amber's phone bill and new piercings. Amber claims that the situation with Crystal was a consensual, open relationship. But I'm pretty sure all parties need to consent to that. And according to the Facebook screenshots from around that time, Casey was clearly not having it. Number 71. Flirting with a 16-year-old when she was 19. So, piggybacking onto the last listing, the Julia situation needs its own spot entirely, and I'm going to explain why. When Amber was talking to and seemingly trying to build a relationship with Julia online, Amber was 19 and Julia was 16. Now, I can't say if this was illegal or not. I don't know what state Julia lived in and the age of consent there. But for the love of God, there is a horrific pattern here. Number 72. Claiming to not be that person while being that person. Amber has claimed over and over again that there is so much she can say, but chooses not to because she is not that person. And then every single time ends up being that person. Now, if someone is talking about you, then you have every right to respond to it. But Amber always ends up scraping the bottom of the barrel with random stories that often have nothing to do with her or the situation being discussed. For example, Amber's exes often come out and share their experiences with Amber. But then Amber will pull whatever she can out of her ass to make them look bad. But they are more often than not so irrelevant to the conversation, which makes her look even worse. When Destiny came forth and talked about her relationship with Amber from her perspective, Amber then told us about how Destiny had to have her dog put down in a very tragic way because of behavioral issues it had. When Beck returned to YouTube to share their side of their relationship with Amber, Amber brought up a photo that Eric posted to Facebook years ago of Beck's ex's underwear. And most recently, when Alexis was talking about her friendship with Amber and how Amber took advantage of her friendship, Amber told us that Alexis does a lot of a particular illegal substance. Once again, besides the point. Although I could believe it, I don't think she had to be that specific. Which brings us to the next instance that deserves its own listing. Number 73. Bringing up Destiny's family and paternity drama. In the summer of 2023, Destiny briefly returned to YouTube to share her side of what went on during their relationship. During a live stream, viewers wanted Destiny to call Amber, and she did. The conversation inevitably got heated, and Amber brought up Destiny's paternity drama as well as her brother's cocaine addiction, right after saying that she has so much tea, but she's not that person. Again, completely random and irrelevant subject matter. She then acted like she didn't even know Destiny was live, but I personally don't buy it. Number 74. Filming a TikTok while Beck picked out a gravestone. After Norma lost her battle with cancer, Beck drove hours to meet up with their siblings to pick out a gravestone for their deceased mother, and Amber accompanied Beck for the car ride. Beck was clearly emotional this day and looked to be holding back tears. Before they left the apartment, Amber filmed a TikTok video while getting ready. Then, while waiting in the car, as her partner picked out a headstone, she filmed another TikTok video. Hardly the time to do so, especially after claiming to be emotional about the situation in her vlog. She didn't look very emotional in those TikToks though. Like always, she just looked like a damn fool. Number 75. Putting multiple exes in the psych ward. For this final listing of part 3, I would just like to point out that Amber's abuse towards her partners landed 2 of them in the psych ward. Casey claims that he was verbally, emotionally, and physically abused by Amber. Amber cheated on him multiple times and treated him and his mother like trash, going as far as to put her hands on him, leaving marks that alarmed Casey's friends at school. I will be elaborating on this more in part 4. After Amber left him, his self-worth was practically non-existent. Casey had to be put into a mental hospital and go through therapy sessions. He was asked by a therapist to compose a list of what it was like being with Amber. The list included: always cuddle her, speak when spoken to, and it's normal to be hit. And then we have Beck, who we all know was manipulated and mistreated heavily by Amber, to the point where they weren't there for their dying mother like they should have been. That guilt was eating away at them. And then on top of that, Amber, oh so smugly, left Beck destitute, and Beck spent 5 days in the psych ward as well. Now, to be fair, these two certainly had other struggles they had been dealing with, whether it be identity crisis, grief, etc. However, I personally believe that being with Amber is ultimately what put them there. Alright guys, we are now in the home stretch of this list. Thank you so much for watching. As difficult as some parts are to get through, I really appreciate you supporting this series and my small channel. Once again, you are indeed giving me hope for a less financially stressful future, and I can't thank you enough for watching and sharing my content. Of course, I am working on the fourth and final part, but I am also starting a new 100 Reasons series featuring a different YouTuber. Any guesses as to who that could be? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.